are coming on the air tonight with the courtroom at Diddy's trial stunned into silence after star witness Cassie Ventura's testimony and the graphic freak-off pictures shown to the jury. We're live outside court with what's ahead when the defense gets its turn to question her tomorrow. Then extreme weather across the country only getting worse tonight with more flooding, look at that, turning deadly, and extreme heat on the horizon. We've got the forecast. Plus, why the nation's top health official is dodging questions about vaccines and telling people not to take his advice. Then the new fake faucet warning just out late tonight, saying to stop using them immediately for certain models bought off Amazon. We'll take a look in the breakdown. And how a huge solar flare is triggering comms blackouts around the world in what may be only the beginning. That's coming up a little later in the show. Hey, I'm Hallie, and tonight jurors seeing chilling texts, videos, and pictures detailing just how far Diddy's alleged abuse went, with the prosecution's star witness, you see her here, 8-month pregnant Cassie Ventura, confirming in the last 30 minutes she settled her 2023 lawsuit against Combs for $20 million. Remember, that case was the first shoe to drop in all of this. Ventura today on the stand appearing more composed than just about 24 hours ago, according to people inside the room, giving gruesome details about when Combs allegedly raped her in 2018. New texts show she compared Combs' abuse to Tina Turner's ex-husband's. Here she is in the court sketch where the video of Combs assaulting her at a hotel in 2016 played as she testified. The prosecution releasing new photos showing the aftermath of the attack. Look at that. You see the smashed glass there. And in her hours on the stand, Ventura detailing how she was blackmailed with freak-off sex videos, she says, adding Diddy allegedly watched a video of one of them on a commercial flight around other people. She testified that she would get UTIs and mouth sores and stomach problems from these back-to-back orgies, allegedly organized by Diddy, saying it got to a point where antibiotics didn't work anymore, and that these so-called freak-offs were fueled by ketamine. Ventura says that was her drug of choice because it helped her disassociate the best. Diddy's family back in court today as his defense prepares to cross-examine Ventura tomorrow in what is certain to be another blockbuster day in this trial. Combs himself faces 5 criminal counts, including sex trafficking and racketeering. He could face the rest of his life behind bars if convicted. He has pleaded not guilty. His defense team argues all these sexual encounters were consensual. We've got team coverage tonight. Our legal analyst, Danny Savalos, is standing by. But I want to start with Chloe Malas, who's live for us outside court. And, Chloe, a number of new details have come up here, including Ventura recalling a fight with Combs back in 2013 when he allegedly forced her to go to a plastic surgeon to treat the gash on her face. We're also learning more about this settlement money. Help us understand the headlines.
That's right, Hallie. So much to unpack tonight. So she says that after she filed that 2023 explosive civil suit against Combs, which was settled in less than 24 hours, that they settled for $20 million. And that's significant because there's been so much speculation as to what they settled for. But as to whether or not that number is going to bother jurors at all, after listening to the countless hours of grueling testimony in which she got emotional while talking about this very abusive relationship. And that instance that you were talking about in 2013, she said that he threw her against a bed frame and she cut her eyebrow on the corner of the bed, and that the gash was so bad that she had to see a plastic surgeon. She says, I cut my eyebrow on the corner of the bed. Sean threw me onto the bed frame. I had a significant gash. I didn't go to the ER. It was a Sunday. Sean had security take me to a plastic surgeon in Beverly Hills. She also talked about having bruises all over her body, showing her mother the bruises, being just so humiliated and horrified that her mother might find out about these freak-offs. When asked how many freak-offs she thinks that she participated in, she said hundreds, Hallie.
Can you give us a sense of what it was like in the room today, Chloe? I know you were there.
There were audible gasps in the room where I was with media when she talked about feeling suicidal at one point. She said that in February of 2023, she went to rehab and she was with her now husband, Alex Fine. She already had 2 children, and that she just couldn't live with the guilt and the pain anymore, and that she actually wanted to walk into traffic and kill herself, and that her husband stopped her. And that for those out there that feel as though this was all a money grab, that she wrote this book. Her mother helped her write a book about her experiences as a way to heal, as a part of her process of recovering from this trauma, and that she wanted Combs to read this book, she said today, because she wanted him to know really the massive impact that all of this had on her life. And then obviously he didn't agree to pay her for that. She filed her civil suit, and then they settled.
And Chloe, tomorrow we're looking ahead to what could be an incredibly significant day in this trial when the defense gets its turn to cross-examine Cassie Ventura here. Explain to us what their strategy may be for a witness that has spent 2 emotional and clearly painful days on the stand talking to the jury about what she allegedly experienced.
It is going to be complicated. She is 8 months pregnant. You don't want to go too hard from the criminal attorneys that I've spoken to, and I'm sure Danny Savalas will get into this. You don't want to look like you're victim shaming, and they obviously have gone through terabytes of data from all of his devices that were recovered during those raids, and also the devices that she handed over to the prosecutors. What text messages will they show? What emails will they show? Yeah. What photos, what videos will we potentially see? So again, he has hired some of the best criminal defense attorneys in the country. So you can imagine that as strong as this was, again, they could have a fighting chance to make a case. We just don't know what that case is.
Chloe Malas, live for us outside court. Chloe, thank you very much for that. As Chloe mentioned, we've got our own Danny Savalas here. Put on your criminal defense attorney hat here, Danny. What is tonight like as these attorneys are preparing now to cross-examine the prosecution's star witness? And how might you expect this to go tomorrow?
The playbook for cross-examining a victim or an alleged victim of sexual violence is pretty much the same across the board. You have to. You're duty-bound to challenge their credibility because ultimately, in many cases, it is he said and she said. Now, the government's going to have a lot of witnesses probably that may bolster Cassie's testimony, but as uncomfortable as it is, and it's one of the most challenging things you do as a defense attorney, is cross-examine a victim of sexual violence. But you have to question credibility. You have to question their ability to remember. You have to question to what degree they acted on their own. For example, I believe she testified today that she made contact with some of the escorts for purposes of these freak-offs. So you have to explore whether or not, to what degree she was doing it on her own. To what degree did he even really direct that? And then, of course, you really have to delve into her motive. She's written a book. She settled a case with Diddy. Is this about money? You have to do it gingerly. You have to do it respectfully. But you have to explore credibility in these ways.
And you think that this money, for example, the news we learned today about this $20 million settlement may come up tomorrow?
It'll absolutely come up. And the way you know is that the prosecution was smart enough to get it out on the front end. Because if you do that, you know that's coming on cross-examination. So you bring it out in your case in chief, if you're on the prosecution, so that it doesn't hit as hard when the defense stands up and asks her about it. The worst thing the prosecution could have done is ignore the payoff, ignore the settlement, and then the defense gets up and it looks like
it's a surprise or
someone was hiding it, and you don't want that to happen.
Well, how is Ventura being prepared for this moment? Listen, she doesn't have a little thing in her ear of somebody talking to her how to answer these questions, how to get through this, et cetera. Would they have done like mock crosses? Well,
they would, but the prosecution always has to be careful. You don't want to prep a witness too much because that question may come up. Did you meet with the prosecutors in this case? How many times? And if that answer is 100 times, well, that alone looks really bad to the jury because it seems like, boy, they really worked her over and planted the ideas in her mind. They gave her the words to say. So as a prosecutor, you got to be careful. You want to prep your witness, but you don't want to go too far so it seems like they're robotic on the stand.
A couple other quick ones for you here. The jurors, we understand, each had, I believe, individual screens to view some of the most graphic images and some of the things that the prosecution is entering into evidence. Is that typical for a case like this?
Yes. As courtrooms get increasingly tech-savvy, I guess I should say, I've been noticing it in my trials, more and more courtrooms, or even they'll have a designated courtroom with the screens in it. So, yes, that is more and more common. Often you'll have, sometimes jurors will share a screen, sometimes every juror will have their own screen. It really depends on the capabilities, and federal courthouses are usually a little better funded than your state courthouse.
Why is the prosecution accusing the defense of what they call trial by ambush today? Are they concerned that there is some evidence that the defense may try to introduce that they don't know about?
So it seems to me this dispute, and unfortunately there aren't cameras in the courtroom, but my understanding is that this may have been something that the prosecution already turned over in discovery, and it could be something that's already in evidence. And what the prosecution is specifically asking for, as I understand it, is that they want the defense to articulate what specific documents they plan to use.
Okay.
That is going to lead to a debate.
Okay. Danny Savalos, plenty to watch. We'll be seeing you again, I know, next hour and throughout the week here on NBC News Now. Thank you. For resources, of course, on sexual assault, call the National Sexual Assault Hotline. You see the number here, 800-656-HOPE, 4673. In other news tonight, we've got this extreme stretch of intense weather unleashing storms all across the country tonight. With some of that flooding we brought you as breaking news last night, now getting worse and more widespread. Look at this. People are like up to their hips, basically, wading through the streets of Pennsylvania. And we know that this storm has turned deadly. Just hours ago, search and rescue crews recovered a body in Virginia. They believe he's a missing 12-year-old boy. Officials say he was swept away when a creek overflowed. These storms, fueled by the heat and humidity you may be feeling right now, feels a lot more like summer, with parts of Texas set to be among the hottest places on the planet this week. Some spots around Austin are looking at highs of 107. Bill Cairns is standing by, but first I want to get to Priscilla Thompson in Houston. And whenever, Priscilla, we are talking about extreme heat this early in the season for a place like Texas, we're thinking about not just the intensity of the storm, but the capability of the systems in place to handle it. And I'm thinking of the power grid, for example.
Yeah, Hallie, and already the grid operators here have come out and said it is going to be extremely hot across the state. They are expecting record high demand. The good news is, though, that grid so far is operating normally. It has been able to sustain that demand as they said it would. But to your point, it is not normally this hot this early. We're talking about 93 degrees right now here in Houston. Thankfully, there is a breeze here in the air here. But in places like Austin and San Antonio, we're talking about it getting up into the triple digits, potentially up to 109 degrees. And that is simply not the type of heat that we are used to seeing this early. So, yes, people are out, but they are taking the precautions a lot earlier this year. So drinking lots of water, staying in the shade, not staying out too long, all of those things. And then, as you mentioned, up north, they're dealing with this just severe flooding in places like Pennsylvania, Virginia, Maryland. We saw these dramatic images yesterday out of Maryland of an elementary school there where some 200 students and teachers had to be evacuated by boats as floodwaters reached up to the second level of the school. There was even a video of a child being carried out on the shoulder of an adult who was in chest-deep water. So we were talking about very extreme weather. And in fact, the governor of Maryland earlier today put out a statement saying, look, this is not over yet. People need to continue to stay home, heed the warnings of officials, especially if you're not used to this kind of weather, because they are still waiting for the river there to crest. It is expected to happen overnight at more than 22 feet. It has not crested that high since 1996. So we are just talking about near historic levels of severe weather. And of course, that is because of climate change, which is fueling these disasters and severe weather that is lasting longer, that is more intense, and all of these things that people in some of these areas are simply not used to seeing. Hallie?
Priscilla Thompson live for us there in Houston. Priscilla, thank you. Let me bring in Bill now. Where are these storms headed next, Bill? Who's on alert?
We got in the middle of the country and also still on the East Coast. We're not done here. So we had about a 2-week break without a lot of bad weather across the country. It was really nice. And that really came to a slamming halt yesterday. And now we're still seeing the return of a lot of heavy rain and thunderstorms over the areas that had the flooding yesterday, especially in Virginia. And dotted here in eastern Virginia, numerous flash flood warnings. We have a flash flood warning in between Philadelphia and New York from rainfall that was very heavy earlier today. And so this will continue throughout the rest of the afternoon. Some of that heavy rain heading to D.C. in about the next 2 hours. So now our focus is going to go to the middle of the country. Severe weather season, this is the peak. And it's going to start churning back up again. Today, just a little bit in the Dakotas, also in portions of Nebraska from Sioux Falls to Norfolk, North Platte, and northwards of Bismarck. Tomorrow, this storm heads east. A lot larger population centers are in the way. So we're talking from Minnesota, Wisconsin, down through areas here near Chicago. This is frozen at 6 p.m. tomorrow. Notice the stronger storms approaching Lake Michigan here, back up through central Wisconsin. And not only the chance of wind damage and hail, but we do have a chance of a strong tornado or two. This hatched area here that goes from just outside of Minneapolis back through central Wisconsin, including Madison, including the Milwaukee area, just north of Chicago. That's the area of greatest risk tomorrow at this time, when we'll be tracking some very strong storms and likely tornadoes. And then by the time we get to the end of the week, heading towards Friday, we're going to watch a really fast-moving line of storms heading through the southern Ohio Valley, St. Louis, Indianapolis, Louisville, Cincinnati. Those are all areas, Hallie, that we're going to be watching Friday. So we had our nice little break. It's over.
Bill Cairns, please consider yourself booked for tomorrow night as well. I think we'll have plenty to talk about then, too. Thanks, pal. Appreciate it. Back home in Washington, the health secretary, the person in charge of the country's health agencies, tonight saying, don't come to me for medical advice, and saying his opinions on vaccines, the very vaccines the CDC, which he oversees, weighs whether to recommend, is irrelevant. The comments coming from Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as he's facing intense questions from lawmakers over cuts to HHS and his handling of one of the worst measles outbreaks in the United States in a generation. Listen.
If you had a child today, would you vaccinate that child for measles?
For measles, probably for measles. What I would say is my opinions about vaccines are irrelevant. It will seem like I'm giving advice to other people, and I don't want to be doing that. I want people to make.
But that's kind of your jurisdiction because CDC does give advice, right? Would you vaccinate your child against chickenpox? I don't want to give advice. Just one last one, just a yes or no, please, if we could. Polio?
Polio? Again, I don't want to be giving advice.
That's fair.
I want to bring in our chief Capitol Hill correspondent, Ryan Nobles, who is joining us now. Ryan, the phrase high-profile hearing on the Hill has become a cliche. But in this instance, to use another cliche, the shoe fits. A lot of people were watching to see how Secretary Kennedy would do here, given the intense scrutiny on the changes he's making at the nation's health agencies.
Yeah, and I do think there was a sense, Hallie, that the rhetoric and kind of the tone from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was a lot different during this round of hearings than it was during his confirmation hearing, where he stayed away from this vaccine skepticism that's really been known as a hallmark of his career. And I think what frustrated Democratic members of Congress, both in the House and Senate, as he appeared before both House members and Senate members today, is that while he says that his opinions on vaccines don't matter, they actually do, because it informs the policies that he then implements as it relates to vaccine availability and vaccine effectiveness, and then just the overall encouragement of Americans to take vaccines to try and protect as many Americans as possible. Listen to how Senator Chris Murphy approached this topic during a particularly contentious moment during the Senate hearing.
You said there's fetal debris in the measles vaccine, and this morning,
all true.
This morning, in
Do
front
you want
of
me to lie to the public?
That's not. None of that is.
Of course it's true. Of course it's true, Senator. Senator, begging your progress. You do not know what you're talking about.
And that exact exchange was really what senators were so worried about during this confirmation process. And it wasn't just Democratic senators, it was Republican senators as well, that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. wasn't working necessarily from the same set of facts that most health and scientific officials were working from, scientific experts were working from, and that could inform many of the very important decisions he makes in this very high-profile role. Hallie.
What's interesting here, too, Ryan, is that, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. came into this position on Make America Healthy Again, right? He has talked repeatedly about wanting clean water, about wanting sort of clean and safe things for people to drink. But then today you've got the EPA making an announcement on forever chemicals in drinking water that is raising some questions about the difference between what the Trump administration says it wants to do and what it's actually doing.
And really their interpretation of how you get to those goals, which I think is a big point of contention here on Capitol Hill. Now, the EPA and the HHS department are two completely different entities, but they're basically singing from the same Trump administration hymnal in terms of how they approach these things. And what the EPA said today is that it's going to relax some of the standards as it relates to these forever chemicals in our drinking water, which there have been many studies that have proven and shown that it relates to a lot of health problems with Americans. Now, separately, at the Department of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says that he wants to make American water healthy, drinking water healthy, but he wants to do it by removing fluoride from the drinking water that millions of Americans take advantage of, which has been shown through scientific studies to reduce the impact of tooth decay among millions of Americans. So there's definitely a different approach to what's happening here. This is what many Americans might have voted for, Hallie, which is, I think, what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Lee Zeldin, the EPA administrator, would argue. But this is kind of the consequences of the election that just took place in 2024.
And elections, as we know, do have consequences. Ryan Nobles, thank you very much, pal. Appreciate it. Also tonight, the FAA is getting all the big airlines together in a room for this unprecedented meeting, basically asking them, please fly fewer flights out of Newark Airport. They say that's the only way to cut down on those huge delays and the cancellations Newark's been dealing with for weeks now. To be clear, those delays, that's not the airline's fault. Right, you've got the airport itself dealing with serious staffing shortages, aging equipment in the airspace. They're down to just one runway because of construction. That's like an FAA governmental issue here. The transportation secretary still says, listen, it is safe. It is safe to fly out of Newark and into Newark, that his family, he says, has flown in and out of Newark. But in front of Congress today, Sean Duffy did have to answer why he recently switched his wife's flight from Newark to nearby LaGuardia. Watch this.
My wife had to do an event, and she was in the city of New York. And so I did. I moved her from Newark to LaGuardia, not for safety, but because I needed her flight to fly. She had to get there.
I want to bring in NBC's Tom Costello, who has obviously been all over this for us. And, Tom, this is interesting here from Secretary Duffy, who's in front of Congress asking for $31 billion to help fix the nation's air traffic infrastructure, essentially. He's basically saying, regarding Newark, it's safe, it's just maybe not convenient. And that seems to be the crux of what's happening here.
Listen, and I got to say, okay, yeah, he's right.
Yeah,
I mean,
so that's
at the moment,
it's a micro of what so many people are feeling.
And we're dealing today alone, we're dealing with 5-hour delays into Newark. But listen, they've also got terrible weather today. That's the biggest issue. Yes. But they've got ongoing issues with air traffic control, as you mentioned, with equipment failures, with a runway under construction. So all of that has led to departure delays, arrival delays, et cetera. And so you set it up perfectly. The airlines are today meeting. This is a very rare meeting that you ever get the airlines together in the same room talking to each other. They are every day competing, but they're talking to each other today and the FAA about maybe they need to trim down their schedules. I talked to a top United Airlines exec about what exactly they're doing. Are you talking about the FAA mandating the changes, or are you going to come up with a voluntary system?
So my understanding is the FAA will mandate the changes. And to be clear, United fully supports changing the schedules at Newark to make sure they're consistent with the runway capabilities, because an on-time airport is what we want, and it's the only thing we're going to accept.
Yeah. Bottom line, as you know, United has already cut nearly 36 daily flights. In the meeting today, United, American, Delta, JetBlue, Allegiant, Alaska, all of them really having this conversation about, we got to do something here. We got to trim down the number of flights because simply the airport right now can't handle the number of flights. Maybe when they reopen the runway come June 15th, things will improve. Okay,
we'll see. We're waiting to go for that one, though. Tom Costello back home for us in D.C. Tom, thank you very much.
You bet.
So if all the world is a stage, the Middle East is in the spotlight tonight with glitz and glam greeting President Trump there today. A red carpet rollout, so to speak, in Doha. Well, red Teslas, at least. Red Cybertrucks, to be specific, escorting the president's motorcade there. The cars then swapped out for camels as the president pulled up to one of the main government buildings. And honestly, he kind of seemed to love all the opulence here.
I'm seeing perfect marble. This is what they call perfecto.
Perfecto on the marble there. The big production coming as everybody seems to be looking for their piece of a big deal, considering that seems to be on the table. That's why I've got countries like Qatar, Syria, the U.S., tons of tech leaders as well. And watching it all from back home, you've got Democrats jumping on this trip, flying a Qatar-Lago logo over the president's Palm Beach club, as all the backlash over his willingness to accept a super fancy plane from the Qatari royal family as Air Force One is not exactly subsiding. Garrett Haake is traveling with the president in Doha. So we talked about the optics of this trip that the president seemed to enjoy here. There is, to a degree, some substance behind all this as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's substance in two categories, really, the deal-making and the diplomacy. On the deal-making side of it, the president is pointing to all of these different arrangements. There's MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding. There's investment agreements that have been kind of cobbled together over recent weeks and months to be packaged up into big announcements. The biggest one today is this one from Boeing, ironically, announcing that they're going to sell the Qatari airline as many as 210 of their wide-body jets. It's a $96 billion deal that could take some time to come to fruition. And then on the diplomacy side, the biggest thing that's happening here in the Middle East is the president's announcement yesterday. You can see it's the front page of the local newspaper here in Qatar to remove all sanctions on the Syrian government. Yeah. This is something a lot of these Arab governments had very much wanted to see happen. The president making that announcement yesterday, following up with the meeting with the new Syrian president today. That's the big diplomatic push that's been made so far on this trip.
Okay, so deal making and diplomacy. But one thing that the president did not do today with the Qataris was formally accept that super fancy plane to serve as Air Force One. There was no expectation going into this trip that he would actually do that. But back home, you've got plenty of Democrats still talking about this idea, still concerned about it. As you know, the president's gotten pushback from even some on the right here.
Yeah, it's not just Democrats. I mean, there have been a significant handful, we'll call it a fistful of Senate Republicans who've pushed back on this idea, whether because they don't think this is the kind of thing that the president should accept for proprietary reasons, or because they don't think he should accept it from Qatar specifically, a country that has much better relationship with the U.S. and the Western world now, but has long been viewed skeptically because of their relationship with groups like Hamas. It has put something of a cloud over this trip. I mean, I just mentioned Boeing. It's almost impossible to talk about the Boeing deal without talking about this Boeing plane, which is in the discussion in part because Boeing's been unable to deliver the new Air Force One that has been promised. It is worth noting that the president has repeatedly defended his decision to accept this gift, as he calls it, saying he would be a fool not to do so. The Qataris, on the other hand, very much do not seem to want to be talking about this. They'd rather the discussion be on almost any other part of the president's visit, even though the president seems perfectly willing to have this fight, at least in this moment, Hallie.
Real quick, Garrett, set the table for tomorrow. What's the big thing on the agenda?
Big speech tomorrow at the Al Udeid Air Base. This is a huge U.S. military installation here in Qatar, paid for originally by the Qataris. The president will address the troops there. Then he'll head to the third country, the third city on this trip, Abu Dhabi, where we expect a similarly opulent welcome from the Emiratis.
We shall be watching it. Garrett Haake after midnight there in Doha. Thanks for staying up late for us tonight, Garrett. Appreciate it. Coming up here on the show, the Menendez brothers could walk free just about 100 days from now. What we're learning tonight about their next steps. Plus, the biggest one-year drop in overdose deaths that we've ever seen. We'll talk about what's driving that decline next. Coming up, why men are more likely to die from so-called broken heart syndrome than women. That's ahead in the 5 things. But first, to some very disturbing news out of New Jersey. Officials at a news conference today sharing that an 18-year-old escaped from a home just across the river from Philly, where her mother and stepfather kept her chained up, they say, for years. She told police she was locked in a crate, subjected to physical and sexual abuse by her stepfather since 2018. Listen.
What this young woman survived was absolutely horrific. After speaking with the victim, our detectives searched the residence and found that the victim was subjected to living in squalid, filthy conditions alongside numerous animals, dogs, chinchillas, and other animals.
The 2 adults you see here are being charged with a number of offenses like kidnapping and aggravated assault, both in custody tonight ahead of a court appearance Friday. NBC's Adrian Broaddus has been following this one for us. What else do we know?
Hallie, we're talking about years of alleged trauma, and I want to warn our viewers, some of the details of what happened are dark and disturbing. Police laying out, saying in part this now 18-year-old was held captive and sexually abused in a New Jersey home for nearly 7 years. Now, this teen told police at times she was held captive in a crate used for dogs. We heard from the chief of police who called this case despicable, one of the worst he's seen in his entire career. He says that dog crate was large enough to hold a Great Dane, and we know that is a large breed when it comes to dogs. We also heard from the prosecuting attorney who says this alleged abuse started back in 2018. That's when the prosecuting attorney says the child's mother removed her from school, saying she was going to homeschool her. Take a listen.
The victim stated that she was forced to live in a dog crate for approximately 1 year and let out only periodically. The victim also advised that she was later forced to live in a padlocked bathroom while being chained up. She stated that she would be let out of the bathroom only when family visited the residence.
The now 18-year-old was able to escape from that home somehow with the help of a neighbor. Police are not sharing those details. They say we will learn more about her escape later in the week. But I do want to show you the accused. We're talking about her mother, Brenda Spencer, on the left side of your screen there, and her stepfather, Brandon Mosley, both facing a litany of charges, including first-degree kidnapping, aggravated assault, and endangering the welfare of a child. Mosley, the man, who's 41, has additional sexual sexual abuse charges. Now, an attorney for the couple declined to comment to NBC News. They are scheduled to be in court on Friday for what is called a detention hearing. And I also want to underscore, Hallie, a 13-year-old was also removed from the home. Police telling us today that teen was removed from school years ago and likely faced abuse as well. The prosecuting attorney saying this case highlights some of the flaws with homeschooling in New Jersey.
Adrian Broaddus, thank you very much for that reporting. Appreciate it. Also tonight, the Menendez brothers could be taking their first steps as free men, maybe as soon as just a few months from now, 100 days from now, after being resentenced by a California judge. Their future is now in the hands of a state parole board. Will decide when or whether they'll be released from prison before their 50-year sentence is up. They do have another route to freedom, clemency. You've got this submission to the governor expected by June 13th, middle of next month, but there's a possibility the governor could throw a wrench in all this and deny the recommendation. Eric and Lyle Menendez have been serving sentences of life without parole for the murder of their parents more than 30 years ago. So now this resentencing, the possibility of parole, is a big turn in a case that has gripped the country's attention for decades. Documentaries, dramas, etc., turning the brothers into almost celebrities, true crime celebrities of sorts. Camila Bernal is joining us now. This was a really interesting one, Camila, because we talked about this on last night's show, right? The idea that this ruling from the judge could come, by tonight. Turns out we got it late last night, so now here we are today. It seems like it was a little confusing for people to understand at first, because they go 50 years, does that mean they're behind bars for 50 more years? It means they are now potentially up for parole, and this is a process that could potentially be wrapped up by the fall.
Yeah, and 50 with the possibility of parole means it goes to the parole board, as you mentioned. And with it going to the parole board, it will take some time because they will have to review it. Then the governor can also weigh in on all of this. And you mentioned the other totally different path at freedom, which is clemency. The governor also can weigh in on that. And he spoke about this today, about the possibility of weighing in on both of them. When it comes to the resentencing, what the governor said is that he's able to reject it. But he also said that he actually approves most of these recommendations. So that's a good sign for the brothers. In terms of clemency, what the governor said in terms of what happens on June 13th, here's what he said.
It's conceivable, to the point, that on June 13th, there could be a recommendation to me. I'm the ultimate arbiter who will have to review the parole board's recommendations and report, that we could get that report. It's also conceivable that will happen months and months later. So that's a process that we're making, that's being determined in real time.
So you see there that he didn't necessarily commit. He also didn't want to give a specific timeline. He's obviously thought about this. It's also a sort of a political move for him. But in terms of what happened in the courtroom, the judge saying that he was amazed by what was going on and saying that he'd actually given this a lot of thought because he's heard a lot of these arguments over the previous hearings, and saying that, yes, they killed their two parents, but he found it fair to give them 50 years with the possibility of parole. He heard from the brothers, as we all did when we were in court. Lyle was extremely emotional, apologizing and saying that they essentially admitted their crimes and were regretful about what they had done. Eric was not as emotional, but nonetheless also saying that he was sorry to his family, saying that he would close his eyes and think about those last moments that his parents went through. So, of course, it was extremely emotional at the time. You could hear the family members crying in the courtroom. They later came out and said these were tears of joy, some of them even testifying on behalf of the brothers. And the judge even saying that he was swayed also by letters from prison officials who were supporting the brothers. So a lot of support for the brothers, despite the LA district attorney essentially not wanting them to get out of jail. So this has been a long process, and the brothers will have to continue to wait. But at least, Hallie, this is sort of an option and a way and sort of a light at the end of the tunnel for the brothers.
Camila Bernal, thank you very much for the breakdown. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, new CDC numbers show drug overdose deaths in this country last year dropped to the lowest levels in 5 years. They fell about 27%, the biggest one-year drop ever recorded. Some experts say they are concerned, however, that federal funding could slow or stop that decline. Number 2, a toddler who was kept in the U.S. after her parents were deported is now back in Venezuela. The government there had called it a kidnapping, but the U.S. said the separation was justified. The toddler arrived on a flight with migrants and was reunited with her mother at the presidential palace alongside President Maduro, who thanked President Trump for returning her. Number 3, a new study shows men are more likely to die from so-called broken heart syndrome than women. That syndrome, it's just what it sounds like. Chest pain or shortness of breath that's triggered by stress. Anything, potentially from a breakup to the death of a loved one. For most people, it is not life-threatening. Number 4, have you heard about J-Lo? She says she fell and hurt her face while rehearsing for the upcoming American Music Awards. She had to get stitches, she says, but she's doing okay now. She's going to be hosting and performing at the AMAs later on this month. Number 5, remember when HBO became HBO Max and then just became Max? Well, now they're rebranding again. They're going back to HBO Max. Warner Brothers says they're bringing back the HBO because it represents high-quality programming and that it's part of their focus on quality over quantity. Up next here on the show, don't get mad. Please don't be mad at me. I know what year it is, but could 2028 be creeping up around the corner? There's news today from 2 potential contenders, maybe trying to run a new Democratic playbook. So is it going to work? Plus, guess who's overrunning parts of Santa Monica? We'll tell you who's going nuts. Do you get it? It's a squirrel. We're going to talk about it after the break. Coming up, how a rock climber survived a 400-foot fall. Just ahead. But first tonight, a kind of Democratic reckoning as the party grapples with new reporting looking back at former President Biden's fitness for office in 2024 and looking ahead to the next election and who's really leading the party now. And some notable new moves today, maybe worth talking about. You got California Governor Gavin Newsom making kind of a pivot in his budget today, cutting health care benefits for undocumented immigrants. That's after his promise to provide universal health care regardless of immigration status. For Newsom, it's just the latest tack to the right that he's been making in the last few months, or at least toward the center. Then we've got former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg acknowledging he's thinking about another presidential run at a town hall in, guess where, Iowa, and suggesting former President Biden's re-election campaign was maybe a mistake. It's a little bit different than what he told us on this show back in July before then President Biden dropped out. Are you comfortable with President Biden's ability to carry out the duties of the office until inauguration?
Yes, and I'm also more confident than ever in his consistency doing the right thing for the American people.
You've got a lot of this now back in the ether after this new book, Original Sin, from CNN's Jake Tapper, Axios' Alex Thompson, coming out next week, that paints a different picture of then President Biden's physical and mental health as he ran for re-election. I want to bring in David Noriega now out for us there in L.A. So if we're going to put this under the umbrella of sort of Democratic reckoning at this moment here, looking ahead to 2028, and don't come, I know it's 2025, but I'm not the one who's in Iowa, right? I'm not the one who's making this move in a budget, as Governor Newsom is, that is seen as a tack to the center here. Talk us through that and what this positioning may mean.
Yeah, Hallie, I mean, you and I just 2 days ago were talking about how Newsom in the recent past has tacked pretty sharply to the right on homelessness and public safety, on trans women in sports, and now pretty remarkably on benefits for undocumented immigrants in California. This last one particularly is pretty shocking coming from here in California, where the idea of offering public benefits, including healthcare to undocumented people, has been sort of very much an orthodox accepted position of the Democratic Party for a long time. These are issues on which the public polling shows the public polling is stronger for the Republican, the conservative side, than for the Democratic, the liberal side, although it's important to note that on immigration, at least, Donald Trump's approval ratings are falling. And this is happening in the context, we'll see on your screen now, some of our most recent polling on the parties generally shows that the Democratic Party is in very bad shape. 40% of people have positive attitudes towards it, 60% have negative. The Republican Party is not much better with 44 and 55, right? So this is, both parties are pretty negatively perceived among the general public. And that is where, I think, Hallie, you start to get some of the more interesting kind of divisions within this kind of emerging, way too early, definitely agree with you there, emerging crowded Democratic presidential field. Divisions as far as what exactly needs to be done about this reckoning, right? Does that reckoning necessarily imply pivoting pretty overtly to the right, as Newsom has, or does it mean simply parting from the status quo in a way that doesn't necessarily mean pivoting to the right on these specific issues?
And listen, I'm the first one to make the point that it is too early to talk about 2028. But you have people who have been speculated to be discussing a 2028 run, or at least thinking about it, in Iowa, right? And it's part of the political ether at this moment. As you look at the potential paths, as you talk about the pivot path, let's say, if Governor Newsom is in fact on that, this pivot to the right or to the center, you've got somebody like J.B. Pritzker, who is doing kind of the opposite, right? Leaning into some of those Democratic positions that have been somewhat long held. But all of it, as the Democratic Party, people inside the Democratic Party themselves are reporting in this new AP poll, they don't feel very good about where the party's headed. Only about a third of them say they're actually optimistic or even somewhat optimistic about the party's future.
Yeah. Look, I think so. Democrats that I've spoken to who are either elected officials or trying to become elected officials have interesting, diverse perspectives on this. And whether they are pivoting to the right in the way that Newsom is, or trying to become even more progressive in the way that, you know, as you pointed out, people like Pritzker, the more progressive people in the more progressive wing of the party are doing. The one thing that you hear pretty consistently is that there needs to be a break from the status quo. There's a general perception that the reason Donald Trump won and the reason Donald Trump is appealing to so many people is because he was willing to break with the status quo, because he's not a conventional politician. He doesn't listen to consultants. He doesn't say what's expected of politicians. Joe Biden, on the other hand, is about as conventional and status quo a politician as you could hope. And the point of agreement here among many of these people, especially with, you know, this new information in this book, is that the last campaign, the Kamala Harris campaign, did not do enough to run away from the Biden administration. And, you know, I think that's what we're going to see playing out. There's going to be an attempt to position these people as breaking with the status quo, but there are different ways of breaking with the status quo. Whether you do it by adopting more right-wing positions or do it by adopting more progressive positions, that's going to be the big fault line moving forward, Hallie.
David Noriega, live first there in L.A. David, thank you very much. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day. And because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Western Bureau, a rock climber in Washington State, the only survivor of a 400-foot fall. He'd been climbing with 3 others when the anchor used to secure their ropes broke. He somehow got himself out of this huge ravine, hiked back to his car, and then drove to a payphone to call for help, all while badly hurt. He's now recovering in the hospital. Out of our Southern Bureau, 2 officers in Florida are being called heroes after saving a blind man who fell into the canal. Look at some of this body cam video here. They're pulling him out of the water. They then performed CPR on him. Fortunately, we're told he's doing okay. Also out of our Western Bureau, officials in Santa Monica say a park right off the famous pier there is being overrun by squirrels. They're coming in groups at a time. They're staying inside tunnels. They're on the cliffs, too. Why? Apparently, people keep feeding them. So officials are saying, please don't feed the squirrels. There's like an environmental concern here with so many of them in this particular spot. News you can use. Still ahead for us, the new concerns around fake faucets that people buy online, how they could actually be contaminating your drinking water. So in just the last couple of hours, you've got the government recalling 4 knockoff faucet brands out of China, saying they could potentially be harmful to you. You may not even be thinking about it, like the faucet in your bathroom or your kitchen or whatever, but if that's where your drinking water comes from, the wrong ones could be exposing people to unsafe levels of lead and other chemicals. One company telling NBC even plumbers can have a hard time telling high-quality faucet fixtures from the fakes. NBC's Vicky Nguyen has more in tonight's breakdown.
Tonight, check your taps. Americans are buying cheap knockoff faucets online that could leach harmful chemicals and heavy metals into their drinking water. Today, the Consumer Product Safety Commission saying it's recalling 4 Chinese faucet brands sold on Amazon.com due to dangerous lead exposure for young children.
The last thing that touches consumers' water, generally when they fill their glass, is a faucet.
Aaron Boris and his product engineering team at American faucet brand Moen said they noticed cheap, foreign-made faucets for sale on Amazon and paid a third-party lab to test 19 of the top-selling products. The lab found 17 of the 19 faucets exceeded national drinking water standards, 11 for lead and 15 for organic compounds, including carcinogens and a chemical used to treat lice and scabies.
Consumers that use these products and drink this water with these higher level of contaminants are going to be at higher risk for getting things like cancer.
Moen says an estimated 35 million cheap faucets from foreign brands were sold in the U.S. in the last 5 years, citing an industry e-commerce tool. The faucets might seem like a bargain at a price of $30, and they look a lot like those from top American brands that can go for hundreds of dollars. At a Senate subcommittee hearing today, Moen asking the government to close intellectual property loopholes.
When searching for this one Moen valve on e-commerce, we found one real Moen SKU. That same search resulted in 41 counterfeit SKUs. Consumers have no chance of discerning a real product from a fake, nor do the most experienced plumbers.
Counterfeiting is bad for your business, but you're saying it's also bad for consumer health.
Absolutely. They are exposing the American consumer to health and safety concerns.
Amazon has not responded to our request for comment. The companies selling the recalled faucets couldn't immediately be reached. The government saying in its recalls that consumers should immediately stop using those faucets, adding that until they're replaced, people should only drink from them after running the water for 15 seconds.
You need to ban people who can't, meet our safety standards.
Senator Tammy Duckworth has raised safety concerns.
The American consumer is going to know that they need to stop using all of these faucets that they may have bought on these websites.
Throwing cold water on knockoff faucets and warning consumers.
So I have to tell you, Vicki, when I heard you were doing the story, I was like, okay, this is so interesting because it's of all the things that I think about that I need to be worried about in my house. I don't know that faucets is on the list. But now, these are legitimate concerns that you've laid out here. So what are people supposed to do about this?
Right. That was my first question. You're telling me 35 million bogus faucets have been, sold, and then they could potentially be leaching chemicals and lead into my drinking water. What gives? So here's the first thing. If you are one of those people who's doing a DIY, you're renovating whatever, first buy from a reputable brand. You hear me say that when it comes to clothes and all kinds of other products. Well, with faucets, it's very, very important because it's the materials that they are made of. The other thing you can do, this is a little trickier, looking for the certifications, but as we said, even professional plumbers can't always tell. Yes. So here's a red flag. Too good to be true prices. If you are looking at a faucet that looks just like a brand name, but for some reason it's a fraction of the cost, that's usually a sign they're cutting corners somewhere. Finally, if you're not sure, let's say you're renting, you can't replace the faucets. It's expensive. Use a water filter. That's right. That can help.
That's right. That's an easy solve. This idea of too good to be true prices, it's hard because you're doing a reno or whatever. You're trying to save every penny you can. And so now of course you're going to be down for the deal.
Now you can't skimp on faucets. I was wondering, what is happening? It is the materials that are being used that aren't tested to safety specifications in the U.S. And the other thing you can do, just run the water for 15 seconds to make sure whatever is in there is getting out.
Oh, obsessed. Vicki, we're so glad to have you. Great to see
Always
you
good
here
to be
in
with
New
you in
York.
person, too.
We'll be watching tomorrow, of course, and every day because Vicki and Morgan Radford are right here on NBC News Daily on NBC News Now and on your local NBC station.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that every day.
Swinging.
Noon Eastern. That's a big graphic. We'd love to see it.
It's larger than life.
Thank you, Vicki. Coming up, the biggest solar flare so far this year, causing some huge comms blackouts. Why experts say this may be just the beginning. To tonight's Original Now with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight, it's these huge solar flares spinning off in just the last day, messing with the Earth's atmosphere and radio waves, happening at levels that are very rare, according to experts. And this may only be the beginning. Here's NBC's Marissa Parra.
Almost 94 million miles from Earth, a powerful light show on the surface of the sun. The bursts of radiation are the strongest solar flares so far this year. But issues flaring up back on Earth. Shortwave radio blackouts have been reported on 5 different continents. A NOAA forecaster says the flare today occurred as the sun was over the Middle East, adding to the disruptions.
So there's an 11-year solar cycle, and right now we're kind of at the peak of one of those cycles of activity.
Scientists say the geomagnetic storms are caused by massive flares of plasma from the sun, specifically sunspots.
The X-rays that are coming out of those flares are actually striking a layer of our Earth's atmosphere that we bounce radio waves off of. And it's actually deforming that layer and causing a lot of disruptions.
Smaller flares happen regularly, but when they get strong enough, they can light up the sky in the form of aurora borealis in select corners of the world.
This is actually so sick.
Sometimes outbursts, turning skies pink and green further south than usual, bringing a light show to lucky residents in places like Chicago, Pennsylvania, even as far as Alabama this same time last year. Scientists say the sun reached its solar maximum last year with its largest flare in October, When the Earth gets bombarded by streams of charged particles, the flares can also disrupt cell phone service, GPS, and satellite communications. They can even wipe out power grids. And in space, they can actually put spacecrafts and astronauts at risk. All of it causing a firestorm online.
As we just had a powerful X2.7 solar flare.
Nobody's talking about what these solar flares are really doing to your energy.
As for that major blackout in Spain and Portugal a few weeks ago that grounded planes and disrupted hospital operations, Spain now launching an investigation. But so far, nothing to indicate solar flares are to blame, despite viral speculation. And at the center of all the activity in the last 24 hours, the sunspot known as AR4087, currently not directed at our planet, but rotating towards it, meaning the Earth might be out of the line of fire, but not for long.
Marissa Parra is joining us now. I mean, who knew, right? Could this thing get bigger? Like, could this explode more in the days to come?
Well, Hallie, let me explain it this way. So this, what we saw just now with AR4087, this was an extremely, and by the way, a rarely powerful storm. You can see the categories. This was the most strong type of solar flare. But here's the thing. This was not even Earth directed. So, Hallie, this rotation is going to continue so that AR4087 is Earth directed with the next coming days. So even if it's not as strong in the X category, Hallie, it could still have a major impact for us down here on Earth. That's tracking with the next few days, May 16th and 17th. So we'll be here.
Bottom line, right? Watch for the potential for more of those comms blackouts. Marissa Parra, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. That does it for this hour. Thank you, as always, for watching. We've got more coverage picking up right now. We are coming on the air with the courtroom at Diddy's trial stunned into silence today after star witness Cassie Ventura's testimony and those graphic freak-off pictures the jury was shown. We're going to take you live outside court with what's ahead when the defense gets its turn to question her. Then extreme weather across the country only getting worse tonight with more flooding turning deadly. Look at that. And extreme heat on the horizon. We've got the forecast. Plus, why the nation's top health official is dodging questions about vaccines and telling people not to take his advice. And why the FAA is asking big airlines to fly fewer flights out of Newark. The unprecedented meeting they had today to try to get a handle on things there. Plus, when the Menendez brothers may walk free after that bombshell resentencing and the potential hurdles that could keep them behind bars. We're getting into it later in the show. Hey, I'm Hallie, and tonight here in New York, jurors seeing chilling texts, videos, pictures detailing just how far Diddy's alleged abuse went. With the prosecution's star witness, 8-month pregnant Cassie Ventura, confirming late today she settled her 2023 lawsuit against Combs for $20 million. Remember, that case, that was the first shoe to drop in all of this. You see some of the court sketches today, Ventura on the stand, delivering some gruesome details about when Combs allegedly raped her in 2018. You see her crying in this courtroom sketch just into us. New texts show she compared Combs' abuse to Tina Turner's ex-husband's. The video of Combs assaulting her at a hotel in 2016 played as she testified. That's what you're looking at in this sketch. As the prosecution is releasing disturbing brand new photos showing the aftermath of that attack. Look at that smashed glass there. It's on the floor. It's in the corner. Ventura, again today, spent hours on the stand, saying she was blackmailed with freak-off sex videos, saying that Diddy allegedly watched a video of one of them on a commercial flight when they were, like, around other people nearby. She testified that she would get UTIs, mouth sores, stomach problems from these back-to-back orgies allegedly organized by Diddy, and that the freak-offs were fueled by ketamine. Ventura says that was the drug that she chose because it helped her disassociate the best. In just the last couple of minutes, we heard from her attorney outside the courthouse. I want to play you that. Here, watch.
She was numb from the drugs that she was taking and everything that she had gone through, and she realized that she had to tell the truth.
For Diddy's part, you can see his mom and son leaving court in just the last hour, with his defense team getting ready for what could be a blockbuster day of cross-examination. That's right. They're going to question Ventura starting tomorrow. Combs faces 5 criminal counts, including sex trafficking and racketeering. Diddy could spend the rest of his life behind bars if he's convicted. His defense team argues that all of these sexual encounters were consensual. We've got team coverage. Danny Savalas, our legal analyst, is standing by. But I want to start with Rahima Ellis, who is outside court. And Rahima, Ventura is detailing again today what she describes as this rape by Combs in 2018, all as this $20 million settlement is coming into the spotlight at the end of the day, too, right?
Yeah, and it's important to point out that she was crying during this, and she said no. She told him no when he was raping her, which is a very important part of her testimony about the relationship they had, because often she wasn't saying that. But she was very poignant about that in this testimony. She was also saying several other things. This was a very dramatic, emotional end to her 2 days of testimony on the witness stand, being under direct examination by the prosecution. We got a full screen of her, what she said. She pointed out, she said, I was 22 and I would do anything for him, and I did it, and it never stopped. I was so numb because that is what I chose to do to get through it. And she's talking about using so many drugs that she had to numb herself to get through all of this. And there was also the moment where she talked about how it was just too much for her. Look at this full screen. She says, he was abusive and controlling. He was physically abusive. He put me down a lot, as much as I would be built up. The sheer embarrassment, how he treated me in front of other people. She went on to say, Hallie, that she contemplated suicide. In fact, she said about spinning out of control, and that in 2023 now, just 2 years ago, her 2 children were in one room, and she went to walk out the front door of her home, and she said she wanted to walk into traffic, to kill herself, to commit suicide, but her husband stopped her from doing that. It was very emotional testimony from her, and even, you point out, she talked about how she was threatened or blackmailed, that Combs had used these tapes and threatened to make these tapes public if she did not continue to be with him and to be in freak-offs with him. And so she continued, she said, out of fear of what would happen. Hallie?
The last 2 days have been obviously extraordinarily significant for the prosecution, putting the person perceived to be their star witness here on the stand with what was clearly emotional and painful testimony for Ventura to give. Now, tomorrow, she is going to face questions from Combs' high-powered defense team, from the lawyers that Diddy has hired here. What is going to be their strategy tomorrow?
I think they gave a foreshadowing of their strategy in their opening statement, and that statement was they're going to own the fact, they said, that Diddy is a very jealous and a man with a volatile temper. And they're going to say that the violence that was a part of this relationship was domestic violence, a domestic abuse. But they're going to insist it's not trafficking. What we're also going to hear, what the prosecution did, Hallie, was they sort of tried to take some of the sting of what they suspect the defense is going to do by saying, well, she loved him. She did what he wanted to do. She sent him beautiful Father's Day cards of talking about what a great relationship they had, and she couldn't imagine it being any better. The prosecution had Cassie Ventura say that today on the witness stand, again, trying to take the sting out of what they really think the defense is going to come at her with. Hallie?
Rahima Ellis, live for us there outside court in New York. We will talk again, I am sure, tomorrow. Rahima, thank you. Let me bring in Danny Ceballos now for some analysis here. Put your criminal defense attorney hat on, right? One of the things you heard Rahima mention there, that the defense may try to separate the idea of domestic abuse, which Diddy is not charged with, from the charges that he does face, which include sex trafficking and racketeering. Layperson here, help us understand how that distinction is drawn for the eyes of a jury.
Sure, I think that's one of their strongest arguments. Yes, this may be about physical assault. It may be about using drugs. It may be about domestic violence. But that is not what Sean Combs is charged with. The government has a greater burden than that. These are federal sex trafficking charges. They require more elements. Now, don't get me wrong. Those parts, the domestic violence, the abuse, the drug trafficking, are actually elements of some of the crimes, like
Force,
the racketeering
fraud,
charges.
coercion, right?
Well, yes. So in the sex trafficking, that requires force, fraud, or coercion. So you have heard about coercion. He had the tapes of me. He was coercing me. It's effective for that. The drug use goes to the racketeering, which requires, as its predicate crimes, drug trafficking, or the options are several of all the crimes that can be used as elements. So the short version is it's more complicated than just proving sexual abuse, domestic violence. Those help the government prove the elements of the crimes. But he's not charged with domestic violence. He's charged with racketeering. He's charged with transporting for purposes of prostitution. And he's charged with sex trafficking. Those require more elements. That's going to be one of the defense's key arguments in this case.
And a key day for them coming up tomorrow here with this cross-examination of Cassie Ventura, somebody who has spent the last 2 days on stand, emotional. She is, 8 months pregnant here. She is, having to take breaks throughout the day because of just the difficulty of this testimony here. And now this defense team has to come and is going to be trying to, question her credibility, right? How do they do that in a way that does not alienate a jury?
I'm going to talk about some things here that are difficult to talk about, but all of those harrowing experiences you just described that she testified on direct, what if one or more of the jurors just doesn't find her credible? It's possible, and especially after tomorrow, as the defense is duty-bound to explore her credibility, that when the smoke clears, one of those jurors, and it only really takes one, may conclude, boy, I don't know if I found that credible.
But how? Based on
I'll give you an example. Yeah, I'll give you an example. We had something up on the board where she talked, one of her quotes was, I was 22, right? And the language, I don't know if we can still put that up, but I was 22. I did this because I loved him. They may explore that you made a choice. You chose to stay. Now, I understand what I'm saying is going to be very unpopular. There you go. I was 22. I would do anything for him. And I did it. That could be used by the defense to say, you made a choice. You chose to be involved. And yes, she testified that I was under his sway and he coerced me and threatened me. But the reality is that is what the defense is going to have to explore in a very respectful, very careful way. They have to explore that possibility.
Would you anticipate that this $20 million settlement may come up from the defense team tomorrow?
It absolutely will. And the reason we know that is that the government brought it out in its case in chief. That means they're worried about it.
Meaning the prosecution brought it up first before the defense.
Exactly right. But you brought up a very good point, which is she's already been paid for that lawsuit. So the motive may land with a fizzle. Oh, your motive is to get paid. Well, I already got paid. I'm now doing it because I believe in truth, justice, and the American way. So that may be a minefield for the defense when they cross-examine her.
Danny Savalas, much to watch. I'm sure we'll see you again tomorrow as well after that critical day in the Diddy trial. Thank you. For resources on sexual assault, there are places to go. Call the National Sexual Assault Telephone Hotline. You can see it there, 800-656-HOPE, 4673. To some other news tonight, and a big headline across the country, this extreme stretch of intense weather, unleashing storms with some of that flooding we brought you as breaking news last night, now getting worse, more widespread. Look how deep that water is, almost up to that person's hips, basically, in the streets of Pennsylvania. We know that this has turned deadly. Not long ago today, search and rescue crews recovered a body in Virginia of who they believe was a missing 12-year-old boy. Officials say he was swept away when a creek overflowed. The storms, fueled by this heat, this humidity that you may be feeling where you are now. In some places, it feels a lot more like summer than late spring. Parts of Texas are going to be the hottest places on the planet this week, with areas around Austin looking at highs of 107 degrees. Bill Cairns is standing by with more on the forecast. But first, I want to get to Ryan Chandler, who's live for us in Dallas. And Ryan, when we have issues in Texas of extreme heat like this, especially so early in the season, there is obviously a question about the intensity of that system, but also about the capability of, let's say, the power grid to handle this.
Yeah, absolutely. When you ask Texans about how they feel about this, I think it really depends who you ask. A lot of Texans would say, what are you talking about? This is just called summer. The problem, Hallie, is it is not summer, and that's really the story here. This is an unusually early storm. A lot of cities are expecting to clock their earliest ever triple-digit temperatures. The state high today coming in at 106 along the border. A lot of Texans, whenever the heat gets too high or the cold gets too low, have a lot of lingering trauma from the February 21 blackout, of course, in which the whole state lost power because of strains on the power grid. We talked to ERCOT a little bit earlier. That's the state power regulator. They have no concerns. We haven't seen any real strains on the grid today because we have ample supply of energy to meet these needs. Really, I think the biggest strain is just on Texans' patience here. They were hoping to hang on to spring a little bit longer. We talked to one man along the running trail here in Dallas earlier today that I think really captured that frustration. Take a listen to him.
I feel like we didn't even get a spring, right? It rained for 2 months and all of a sudden we're directly into summer. Where do we get the flowers, the patio, a nice cool 80 degrees? And yeah. It's already gross out and it's 8 a.m.
No, exactly.
I'm over it.
It's not always great, but I'd rather be hot than cold.
Yeah, so Hallie, we're also talking to first responders who are taking extra precautions, stocking up on things like saline, making sure people stay hydrated, expecting an increase in calls of heat-related emergencies. The National Weather Service not just issuing extreme heat warnings, but warning people that when it gets this hot this early, people may not be acclimated to it and are more at risk for heat-related illnesses. Sally.
Ryan Chandler live for us there in Dallas. Good to see you, Ryan. Thank you. Bill Cairns is joining us now here in New York. All right. What's next? Where do we go?
You were in D.C. yesterday when it was pouring rain, right?
It's pouring rain here in New York, and I'm going to go back to D.C. where it's still going to be pouring, so I forgot what the sun.
I was just a look to blame someone for bringing it up this way. So, yes, it is pouring in New York and Philadelphia. Earlier today, it was raining hard. We had flash flood warnings in New Jersey. And now the worst of it, if you ever done that drive from Richmond all the way down to Norfolk, Virginia Beach through beautiful Williamsburg here, that's where we have thunderstorms, torrential rain, and we do have some flash flood warnings in that vicinity. That's probably the worst of it out there currently. There's still that flash flood warning in between Philly and New York. That's up. About 8 million people still in flood watches, and that does include those areas where we had those dramatic pictures yesterday of the elementary school being evacuated. That river's since come way down, but they are going to get some additional rainfall. One of the other things we're watching is how hot will it get in San Antonio. It has never been above 104 degrees in San Antonio in the month of May. We are currently sitting at 101. The predicted high is supposed to be about right now or maybe next hour, so they may come just short of that. But look at Laredo and Del Rio, already 103 and 104 degrees. So tomorrow we switch. The temperatures in Texas will still be hot, but we switch into severe weather mode. Tomorrow, this large area of Wisconsin into Michigan, northern portions of Indiana and Illinois, including Chicago, a chance of strong storms and tornadoes, Hallie. That'll be about this time tomorrow afternoon, and especially our friends from Madison to Green Bay, this hatched area, that's where we could see what we call EF2 plus tornadoes. Those are the stronger varieties, the ones that can really ruin a town, and hopefully that won't happen, but it's a possibility tomorrow.
Geez, certainly something to watch. We hope it doesn't happen, but we know you'll be all over it with the forecast. Bill, thank you. Back home in Washington, you've got the health secretary, the person in charge of the country's health agencies, tonight saying, don't come to me for medical advice, saying his opinion on vaccines, the very vaccines the CDC, which he oversees, weighs whether to recommend, is irrelevant. The comments coming from Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., you see him here, as he's facing intense questions from lawmakers over cuts to HHS and his handling of one of the worst measles outbreaks in this country in a generation.
If you had a child today, would you vaccinate that child for measles?
For measles, probably for measles. You know, what I would say is my opinions about vaccines are irrelevant. It will seem like I'm giving advice to other people, and I don't want to be doing that. I want people to make.
But that's kind of your jurisdiction because CDC does give advice, right? Would you vaccinate your child against chickenpox?
Again, I don't want to give advice.
Just one last one, just a yes or no, please, if it could. Polio?
Polio? Again, I don't want to be giving advice.
That's fair.
I want to bring in our chief Capitol Hill correspondent, Ryan Nobles, who is joining us now. There is so much attention on Secretary Kennedy when he talks about vaccines because he had long been a vaccine skeptic during his confirmation hearing, suggesting that he would be open, of course, to these recommendations from the CDC. And now some new questions tonight.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the frustration is rooted in the fact, Hallie, that most Americans don't have the time, the energy, or the knowledge to do all the research that is necessary to determine whether or not a vaccine is safe and effective. They rely on the Department of Health and Human Services to do that for them. So when Robert F. Kennedy Jr. says that he doesn't really want to offer up any advice, and then further takes a step of saying that perhaps some of these vaccines he doesn't personally believe are safe enough, but we'll let you do whatever you want. There's a concern that people will just stop taking the vaccine at risk of putting their child in any sort of danger, even if there is no danger. And you saw in the Senate hearing that he was pressed on this even more, especially against the backdrop of this measles outbreak. Take a listen.
Do you understand that when you say these things about the measles vaccine, what ends up happening is less people get the vaccine? That may be what you want, but do you understand that the result of constantly questioning the efficacy or safety of the vaccine results in less people getting the vaccine?
What I pledged before this committee during my confirmation is that I would tell the truth, that I would have radical transparency. I'm going to tell the truth about everything we know and we don't know about vaccines.
But of course, many Democrats believe that some of the skepticism that he's peddling is far from the truth and far outside what many scientists and health experts believe. And I have to tell you, Hallie, there are often protests at hearings like these the protest that broke out during this Senate hearing related to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was as intense as we've ever seen. You can see Kennedy jump out of his seat. There was a lot of screaming and yelling, a lot of physical removing of these protesters. Among the protesters that was pulled out of this room, Ben Cohen, who you may know, of course, is one of the founders of the very famous ice cream company, Ben and Jerry's. He was arrested as a result of this and will now face charges because of his protest of the Kennedy hearing.
Ryan Noble's live for us on the Hill. Thank you very much, Ryan. Also tonight, the FAA getting all the big airlines together in a room for this very rare meeting, basically asking them, hey, please fly fewer flights out of Newark Airport. They say it's the only way to cut down on those massive delays, all those cancellations that Newark's been dealing with for weeks now. To be clear, that is not the airline's fault, right? Instead, it's because of serious air control, staffing shortages, aging equipment. Newark is down to just a couple of runways because of construction. But the transportation secretary says it is safe. He has previously said his family flies out of Newark. Although in front of Congress today, he did answer as to why he recently switched his wife's flight from Newark to nearby LaGuardia.
My wife had to do an event, and she was in the city of New York, and so I did. I moved her from Newark to LaGuardia, not for safety, but because I needed her flight to fly. She had to get there.
I want to bring in NBC's Tom Costello back home in Washington. It's interesting to hear from Secretary Duffy because in so many ways, his experience may mirror the experience of so many, because he's basically saying it's not a matter of safety, it's a matter of convenience when it comes to Newark, as the FAA is now holding this very rare meeting with all these competitor airlines in a room trying to figure this out.
Listen, it's a matter of fact. You have significant delays at Newark, and if you got to make a flight because you got to make a meeting, yeah, you may want to change to a different airport. I think that's what he's saying there. Listen, today alone, we've got ground stops and ground delays because of weather causing 5-hour delays at Newark alone, right? We've also got Washington Reagan, Washington Dulles, Denver, as well as other East Coast airports. Significant delays today. 'Tis the season. As you know, summer is very volatile. And then you add on top of that at Newark the air traffic control issues, and they're down a runway because of construction, and they've got radios and radar issues they've been working through. That's a lot of the reason why we've had so many issues. And so, to your point, the airlines are meeting today in Washington, a very rare kind of a joint summit for the airlines to come together and strategize on whether they should be reducing the number of planes in and out of Newark because the airport simply can't handle the capacity. I talked to United Airlines, one of the top execs at United Airlines, about this meeting. Are you talking about the FAA mandating the changes, or are you going to come up with a voluntary system?
So my understanding is the FAA will mandate the changes. And to be clear, United fully supports changing the schedules at Newark to make sure they're consistent with the runway capabilities, because an on-time airport is what we want, and it's the only thing we're going to accept.
So United Airlines, as you know, has already cut nearly 36 flights a day. At the meeting, they're the dominant player at Newark, right? But at the meeting today, United, American, Delta, JetBlue, Allegiant, Alaska, this is day one. They're going to come back and finish up the talks tomorrow, come to some sort of an agreement. And I do think, in addition to the FAA just slowing operations right now, so they don't want to push too much volume through a very small opening, they may be also kind of pulling back until they get that runway back up, and we think that's going to be June 15th.
All right, Tom Costello, thank you very much.
Yep.
So listen, if all the world is a stage, it's the Middle East in the spotlight, with glitz and glam greeting President Trump there today with a red carpet rollout in Doha. Well, maybe not red carpet, red Teslas. You see them there. Red Cybertrucks, to be specific, escorting the president's motorcade. The cars then swapped out for camels as the president pulled up to one of the main government buildings, and he seemed to be loving all the opulence.
I'm seeing perfect marble. This is what they call perfecto.
Perfecto marble in the building there. The big production coming as everybody seems to be looking for their piece of a big deal, considering that seems to be on the table for Qatar, Syria, the U.S., for tons of tech leaders who are in the region. And watching it all from back home, Democrats eyeing this Qatar trip, flying this Qatar-a-Lago logo over the president's Palm Beach club. It's over all the backlash on his willingness to accept a super fancy luxury jet from the Qatari royal family. Garrett Haake is traveling with the president in Doha for us tonight. So we talked about the optics of this trip that the president seemed to enjoy here. There is, to a degree, some substance behind all this as well, right?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, there's substance in two categories, really, the deal-making and the diplomacy. On the deal-making side of it, the president is pointing to all of these different arrangements. There's MOUs, Memorandum of Understanding, there's investment agreements that have been kind of cobbled together over recent weeks and months to be packaged up into big announcements. The biggest one today is this one from Boeing, ironically, announcing that they're going to sell the Qatari airline as many as 210 of their wide-body jets. It's a $96 billion deal that could take some time to come to fruition. And then on the diplomacy side, the biggest thing that's happening here in the Middle East is the president's announcement yesterday. You can see it's the front page of the local newspaper here in Qatar to remove all sanctions on the Syrian government. Yeah. This is something a lot of these Arab governments had very much wanted to see happen. The president making that announcement yesterday, following up with a meeting with the new Syrian president today. That's the big diplomatic push that's been made so far on this trip.
Okay, so deal making and diplomacy, but one thing that the president did not do today with the Qataris was formally accept that super fancy plane to serve as Air Force One. There was no expectation going into this trip that he would actually do that. But back home, you've got plenty of Democrats still talking about this idea, still concerned about it. As you know, the president's gotten pushback from even some on the right here.
Yeah, it's not just Democrats. I mean, there have been a significant handful, we'll call it a fistful of Senate Republicans who've pushed back on this idea, whether because they don't think this is the kind of thing that the president should accept for proprietary reasons, or because they don't think he should accept it from Qatar specifically, a country that has much better relationship with the U.S. and the Western world now, but has long been viewed skeptically because of their relationship with groups like Hamas. It has put something of a cloud over this trip. I mean, I just mentioned Boeing. It's almost impossible to talk about the Boeing deal without talking about this Boeing plane, which is in the discussion in part because Boeing's been unable to deliver the new Air Force One that has been promised. It is worth noting that the president has repeatedly defended his decision to accept this gift, as he calls it, saying he would be a fool not to do so. The Qataris, on the other hand, very much do not seem to want to be talking about this. They'd rather the discussion be on almost any other part of the president's visit, even though the president seems perfectly willing to have this fight, at least in this moment, Hallie.
Real quick, Garrett, set the table for tomorrow. What's the big thing on the agenda?
Big speech tomorrow at the Al Udeid Air Base. This is a huge U.S. military installation here in Qatar, paid for originally by the Qataris. The president will address the troops there. Then he'll head to the third country, the third city on this trip, Abu Dhabi, where we expect a similarly opulent welcome from the Emiratis.
We shall be watching it, Garrett Haake, after midnight there in Doha. Thanks for staying up late for us tonight, Garrett. Appreciate it. Coming up here on the show, how a teen girl, an 18-year-old, allegedly escaped captivity in her own home. What we're learning tonight. And a big explosion at a chemical warehouse in Spain. Oof, look at that cloud of something. What people need to do to stay safe now. Next. Let's get you over to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, the Georgetown University professor, arrested and targeted for deportation by the Trump administration, has been released from ICE custody. Here he is leaving that ICE detention facility in Texas after a judge ruled the detention violated his rights. Number 2, an L.A. judge granting a temporary restraining order to the Little Mermaid star Halle Bailey after she alleged her ex-boyfriend, rapper Diddy, made her fear for her and their baby's life. The actress says he has been physically and emotionally abusive in their relationship. Now he's got to stay away from Bailey and his son until a hearing next month. A rep for Diddy did not immediately return the AP's request for comment. Number 3, officials in Spain warning people near Sevilla to stay inside after an explosion at a chemical plant. You can see all this black smoke coming from the site. At least 2 people have been hurt. No word yet on what kind of chemicals may be involved, but boy, that's a big cloud. Number 4, Ford recalling more than 200,000 cars because of an issue that could prevent the brakes from working properly. It affects certain Expedition and Lincoln SUVs. So far, Ford says they haven't heard of any accident or crash related to the recalled cars. Number 5, remember when HBO turned into HBO Max and then it was just Max? Now they're back to HBO Max in yet another rebrand. Warner Brothers says they are bringing back the HBO because it represents high-quality programming and that it's part of their focus on quality over quantity. Also tonight, the Menendez brothers could be taking their first steps as free men in just a few months after being resentenced by a California judge. Their future now in the hands of a state parole board that'll decide if or when they'll be released from prison. There is another route for freedom for them, which is clemency, with a clemency recommendation expected to go to the governor's desk by maybe mid-June, June 13th. There's a possibility Governor Gavin Newsom could still deny the recommendation. Eric and Lyle Menendez have been serving sentences of life without parole for the murder of their parents more than 30 years ago. So this resentencing now is a huge twist in a case that has gripped the country's attention for decades, with documentaries, with series, etc., turning the brothers into almost like true crime celebrities. Camila Bernal is joining us now. This was a really interesting one, Camila, because we talked about this on last night's show, right? The idea that this ruling from the judge could come, by tonight. Turns out we got it late last night, so now here we are today. It seems like it was a little confusing for people to understand at first, because they go 50 years. Does that mean they're behind bars for 50 more years? It means they are now potentially up for parole, and this is a process that could, potentially be wrapped up by the fall.
Yeah, and 50 with the possibility of parole means it goes to the parole board, as you mentioned. And with it going to the parole board, it will take some time because they will have to review it. Then the governor can also weigh in on all of this. And you mentioned the other totally different path at freedom, which is clemency. The governor also can weigh in on that. And he spoke about this today, about the possibility of weighing in on both of them. When it comes to the resentencing, what the governor said is that he's able to reject it. But he also said that he actually approves most of these recommendations. So that's a good sign for the brothers. In terms of clemency, what the governor said in terms of what happens on June 13th, here's what he said.
It's conceivable, to the point, that on June 13th, there could be a recommendation to me. I'm the ultimate arbiter. We'll have to review the parole board's recommendations and report, that we can get that report. It's also conceivable that will happen months and months later. So that's a process that we're making, that's being determined in real time.
So you see there that he didn't necessarily commit. He also didn't want to give a specific timeline. He's obviously thought about this. It's also a sort of a political move for him. But in terms of what happened in the courtroom, the judge saying that he was amazed by what was going on and saying that he'd actually given this a lot of thought because he's heard a lot of these arguments over the previous hearings, and saying that, yes, they killed their two parents, but he found it fair to give them 50 years with the possibility of parole. He heard from the brothers, as we all did when we were in court. Lyle was extremely emotional, apologizing and saying that they essentially admitted their crimes and were regretful about what they had done. Eric was not as emotional, but nonetheless also saying that he was sorry to his family, saying that he would close his eyes and think about those last moments that his parents went through. So, of course, it was extremely emotional at the time. You could hear the family members crying in the courtroom. They later came out and said these were tears of joy, some of them even testifying on behalf of the brothers. And the judge even saying that he was swayed also by letters from prison officials who were supporting the brothers. So a lot of support for the brothers, despite the LA district attorney essentially not wanting them to get out of jail. So this has been a long process, and the brothers will have to continue to wait. But at least, Hallie, this is sort of an option and a way and sort of a light at the end of the tunnel for the brothers.
Camila Bernal, thank you very much for the breakdown. To some very disturbing news out of New Jersey. Officials at a news conference today sharing that an 18-year-old escaped from a home just across the river from Philly, where her mother and stepfather kept her chained up, they say, for years. She told police she was locked in a crate, subjected to physical and sexual abuse by her stepfather since 2018. Listen.
What this young woman survived was absolutely horrific. After speaking with the victim, our detectives searched the residence and found that the victim was subjected to living in squalid, filthy conditions alongside numerous animals, dogs, chinchillas, and other animals.
The two adults you see here are being charged with a number of offenses like kidnapping and aggravated assault, both in custody tonight ahead of a court appearance Friday. NBC's Adrian Broaddus has been following this one for us. What else do we know?
Hallie, we're talking about years of alleged trauma, and I want to warn our viewers, some of the details of what happened are dark and disturbing. Police laying out, saying in part this now 18-year-old was held captive and sexually abused in a New Jersey home for nearly 7 years. Now, this teen told police at times she was held captive in a crate used for dogs. We heard from the chief of police who called this case despicable, one of the worst he's seen in his entire career. He says that dog crate was large enough to hold a Great Dane, and we know that is a large breed when it comes to dogs. We also heard from the prosecuting attorney who says this alleged abuse started back in 2018. That's when the prosecuting attorney says the child's mother removed her from school, saying she was going to homeschool her. Take a listen.
The victim stated that she was forced to live in a dog crate for approximately 1 year and let out only periodically. The victim also advised that she was later forced to live in a padlocked bathroom while being chained up. She stated that she would be let out of the bathroom only when family visited the residence.
The now 18-year-old was able to escape from that home somehow with the help of a neighbor. Police are not sharing those details. They say we will learn more about her escape later in the week. But I do want to show you the accused. We're talking about her mother, Brenda Spencer, on the left side of your screen there, and her stepfather, Brandon Mosley, both facing a litany of charges, including first-degree kidnapping, aggravated assault, and endangering the welfare of a child. Mosley, the man, who's 41, has additional sexual abuse charges. Now, an attorney for the couple declined to comment to NBC News. They are scheduled to be in court on Friday for what is called a detention hearing. And I also want to underscore, Hallie, a 13-year-old was also removed from the home. Police telling us today that teen was removed from school years ago and likely faced abuse as well. The prosecuting attorney saying this case highlights some of the flaws with homeschooling in New Jersey.
Adrian Broaddus, thank you very much for that reporting. Appreciate it. Up next here on the show, don't get mad. Please don't be mad at me. I know what year it is, but could 2028 be creeping up around the corner? There's news today from two potential contenders, maybe trying to run a new Democratic playbook. So is it going to work? Plus, guess who's overrunning parts of Santa Monica? We'll tell you who's going nuts. Do you get it? It's a squirrel. We're going to talk about it after the break. Coming up, how a rock climber survived a 400-foot fall. Just ahead. But first tonight, a kind of Democratic reckoning as the party grapples with new reporting looking back at former President Biden's fitness for office in 2024 and looking ahead to the next election and who's really leading the party now. And some notable new moves today, maybe worth talking about. You got California Governor Gavin Newsom making kind of a pivot in his budget today, cutting health care benefits for undocumented immigrants. That's after his promise to provide universal health care regardless of immigration status. For Newsom, it's just the latest tack to the right that he's been making in the last few months, or at least toward the center. Then we've got former Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg acknowledging he's thinking about another presidential run at a town hall in, guess where, Iowa, and suggesting former President Biden's re-election campaign was maybe a mistake. It's a little bit different than what he told us on this show back in July before then President Biden dropped out. Are you comfortable with President Biden's ability to carry out the duties of the office until inauguration?
Yes, and I'm also more confident than ever in his consistency doing the right thing for the American people.
You've got a lot of this now back in the ether after this new book, Original Sin, from CNN's Jake Tapper, Axios' Alex Thompson, coming out next week, that paints a different picture of then-President Biden's physical and mental health as he ran for re-election. I want to bring in David Noriega now out for us there in L.A. So if we're going to put this under the umbrella of sort of Democratic reckoning at this moment here, looking ahead to 2028, and don't come, I know it's 2025, but I'm not the one who's in Iowa, right? I'm not the one who's making this move in a budget as Governor Newsom is that is seen as a tack to the center here. Talk us through that and what this positioning may mean.
Yeah, Hallie, I mean, you and I just 2 days ago were talking about how Newsom in the recent past has tacked pretty sharply to the right on homelessness and public safety, on trans women in sports, and now, pretty remarkably, on benefits for undocumented immigrants in California. This last one particularly is pretty shocking coming from here in California, where the idea of offering public benefits, including healthcare to undocumented people, has been sort of very much an orthodox accepted position of the Democratic Party for a long time. These are issues on which the public polling shows the public polling is stronger for the Republican, the conservative side, than for the Democratic, the liberal side, although it's important to note that on immigration, at least, Donald Trump's approval ratings are falling. And this is happening in the context, we'll see on your screen now, some of our most recent polling on the parties generally shows that the Democratic Party is in very bad shape. 40% of people have positive attitudes towards it, 60% have negative. The Republican Party is not much better with 44 and 55, right? So this is, both parties are pretty negatively perceived among the general public. And that is where, I think, Hallie, you start to get some of the more interesting kind of divisions within this kind of emerging, way too early, definitely agree with you there, emerging crowded Democratic presidential field. Divisions as far as what exactly needs to be done about this reckoning, right? Does that reckoning necessarily imply pivoting pretty overtly to the right, as Newsom has, or does it mean simply parting from the status quo in a way that doesn't necessarily mean pivoting to the right on these specific issues?
And listen, I'm the first one to make the point that it is too early to talk about 2028, but you have people who have been speculated to be discussing a 2028 run, or at least thinking about it, in Iowa, right? And it's part of the political ether at this moment. As you look at the potential paths, as you talk about the pivot path, let's say, if Governor Newsom is in fact on that, this pivot to the right or to the center, you've got somebody like J.B. Pritzker, who is doing kind of the opposite, right? Leaning into some of those Democratic positions that have been somewhat long held. But all of it, as the Democratic Party, people inside the Democratic Party themselves are reporting in this new AP poll, they don't feel very good about where the party's headed. Only about a third of them say they're actually optimistic or even somewhat optimistic about the party's future.
Yeah. Look, I think so. Democrats that I've spoken to who are either elected officials or trying to become elected officials have interesting, diverse perspectives on this. And whether they are pivoting to the right in the way that Newsom is, or trying to become even more progressive in the way that, you know, as you pointed out, people like Pritzker, the more progressive people in the more progressive wing of the party are doing, the one thing that you hear pretty consistently is that there needs to be a break from the status quo. There's a general perception that the reason Donald Trump won, and the reason Donald Trump is appealing to so many people, is because he was willing to break with the status quo, because he's not a conventional politician. He doesn't listen to consultants. He doesn't say what's expected of politicians. Joe Biden, on the other hand, is about as conventional and status quo a politician as you could hope. And the point of agreement here among many of these people, especially with, you know, this new information in this book, is that the last campaign, the Kamala Harris campaign, did not do enough to run away from the Biden administration. And, you know, I think that's what we're going to see playing out. There's going to be an attempt to position these people as breaking with the status quo, but there are different ways of breaking with the status quo. Whether you do it by adopting more right-wing positions or do it by adopting more progressive positions, that's going to be the big fault line moving forward, Hallie.
David Noriega, live for us there in L.A. David, thank you very much. NBC News covers hundreds of stories every day. And because it can be tough to read or watch or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. Out of our Western Bureau, a rock climber in Washington State, the only survivor of a 400-foot fall. He'd been climbing with 3 others when the anchor used to secure their ropes broke. He somehow got himself out of this huge ravine, hiked back to his car, and then drove to a payphone to call for help, all while badly hurt. He's now recovering in the hospital. Out of our Southern Bureau, 2 officers in Florida are being called heroes after saving a blind man who fell into the canal. Look at some of this body cam video here. They're pulling him out of the water. They then performed CPR on him. Fortunately, we're told he's doing okay. Also out of our Western Bureau, officials in Santa Monica say a park right off the famous pier there is being overrun by squirrels. They're coming in groups at a time. They're staying inside tunnels. They're on the cliffs, too. Why? Apparently, people keep feeding them. So officials are saying, please don't feed the squirrels. There's like an environmental concern here with so many of them in this particular spot. News you can use. Still ahead for us, the new concerns around fake faucets that people buy online, how they could actually be contaminating your drinking water. So in just the last couple of hours, you've got the government recalling 4 knockoff faucet brands out of China, saying they could potentially be harmful to you. You may not even be thinking about it, like the faucet in your bathroom or your kitchen or whatever, but if that's where your drinking water comes from, the wrong ones could be exposing people to unsafe levels of lead and other chemicals. One company telling NBC even plumbers can have a hard time telling high-quality faucet fixtures from the fakes. NBC's Vicky Nguyen has more in tonight's breakdown.
Tonight, check your taps. Americans are buying cheap knockoff faucets online that could leach harmful chemicals and heavy metals into their drinking water. Today, the Consumer Product Safety Commission saying it's recalling 4 Chinese faucet brands sold on Amazon.com due to dangerous lead exposure for young children.
The last thing that touches consumers' water, generally when they fill their glass, is a faucet.
Aaron Boris and his product engineering team at American faucet brand Moen said they noticed cheap foreign-made faucets for sale on Amazon and paid a third-party lab to test 19 of the top-selling products. The lab found 17 of the 19 faucets exceeded national drinking water standards, 11 for lead and 15 for organic compounds, including carcinogens and a chemical used to treat lice and scabies.
Consumers that use these products and drink this water with these higher level of contaminants are going to be at higher risk for getting things like cancer.
Moen says an estimated 35 million cheap faucets from foreign brands were sold in the U.S. in the last 5 years, citing an industry e-commerce tool. The faucets might seem like a bargain at a price of $30, and they look a lot like those from top American brands that can go for hundreds of dollars. At a Senate subcommittee hearing today, Moen asking the government to close intellectual property loopholes.
When searching for this one Moen valve on e-commerce, we found one real Moen SKU. That same search resulted in 41 counterfeit SKUs. Consumers have no chance of discerning a real product from a fake, nor do the most experienced plumbers.
Counterfeiting is bad for your business, but you're saying it's also bad for consumer health.
Absolutely. They are exposing the American consumer to health and safety concerns.
Amazon has not responded to our request for comment. The companies selling the recalled faucets couldn't immediately be reached. The government saying in its recalls that consumers should immediately stop using those faucets, adding that until they're replaced, people should only drink from them after running the water for 15 seconds.
You need to ban people who can't, meet our safety standards.
Senator Tammy Duckworth has raised safety concerns.
The American consumer is going to know that they need to stop using all of these faucets that they may have bought on these websites.
Throwing cold water on knockoff faucets and warning consumers.
So I have to tell you, Vicky, when I heard you were doing the story, I was like, okay, this is so interesting because it's of all the things that I think about that I need to be worried about in my house. I don't know that faucets is on the list, but now, these are legitimate concerns that you've laid out here. So what are people supposed to do about this?
Right. That was my first question. You're telling me 35 million bogus faucets have been, sold, and then they could potentially be leaching chemicals and lead into my drinking water. What gives? So here's the first thing. If you are one of those people who's doing a DIY, you're renovating whatever, first buy from a reputable brand. You hear me say that when it comes to clothes and all kinds of other products. Well, with faucets, it's very, very important because it's the materials that they are made of. The other thing you can do, this is a little trickier, looking for the certifications, but as we said, even professional plumbers can't always tell. Yes. So here's a red flag. Too good to be true prices. If you are looking at a faucet that looks just like a brand name, but for some reason it's a fraction of the cost, that's usually a sign they're cutting corners somewhere. Finally, if you're not sure, let's say you're renting, you can't replace the faucets. It's expensive. Use a water filter. That's right. That can help.
That's right. That's an easy solve. This idea of too good to be true prices, it's hard because you're doing a reno or whatever. You're trying to save every penny you can. And so now of course you're going to be down for the deal. Now you can't skimp on faucets. I was wondering, what is happening? It is the materials that are being used that aren't tested to safety specifications in the U.S. And the other thing you can do, just run the water for 15 seconds to make sure whatever is in there is getting out. Obsessed. Vicky, we're so glad to have you. Great to see you.
Always good to see you in person, too.
We'll be watching tomorrow, of course, and every day because Vicky and Morgan Radford are right here on NBC News Daily on NBC News Now and on your local NBC station.
Oh, look at that.
Look at that every day. Noon Eastern. That's a big graphic. We'd love to see it.
It's larger than life.
Thank you, Vicky. Coming up, the biggest solar flare so far this year, causing some huge comms blackouts. Why experts say this may be just the beginning. It's tonight's original now with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching. And tonight it's these huge solar flares spinning off in just the last day, messing with the Earth's atmosphere and radio waves, happening at levels that are very rare, according to experts. And this may only be the beginning. Here's NBC's Marissa Parra.
Almost 94 million miles from Earth, a powerful light show on the surface of the sun. The bursts of radiation are the strongest solar flares so far this year, but issues flaring up back on Earth. Shortwave radio blackouts have been reported on 5 different continents. A NOAA forecaster says the flare today occurred as the sun was over the Middle East, adding to the disruptions.
So there's an 11-year solar cycle, and right now we're kind of at the peak of one of those cycles of activity.
Scientists say the geomagnetic storms are caused by massive flares of plasma from the sun, specifically sunspots.
The X-rays that are coming out of those flares are actually striking a layer of our Earth's atmosphere that we bounce radio waves off of. And it's actually deforming that layer and causing a lot of disruptions.
Smaller flares happen regularly, but when they get strong enough, they can light up the sky in the form of aurora borealis in select corners of the world.
This is actually so sick.
Sometimes outbursts, turning skies pink and green further south than usual, bringing a light show to lucky residents in places like Chicago, Pennsylvania, even as far as Alabama this same time last year. Scientists say the sun reached its solar maximum last year with its largest flare in October. When the Earth gets bombarded by streams of charged particles, the flares can also disrupt cell phone service, GPS, and satellite communications. They can even wipe out power grids. And in space, they can actually put spacecrafts and astronauts at risk. All of it causing a firestorm online.
As we just had a powerful X2.7 solar flare.
Nobody's talking about what these solar flares are really doing to your energy.
As for that major blackout in Spain and Portugal a few weeks ago that grounded planes and disrupted hospital operations, Spain now launching an investigation. But so far, nothing to indicate solar flares are to blame, despite viral speculation. And at the center of all the activity in the last 24 hours, the sunspot known as AR4087, currently not directed at our planet, but rotating towards it, meaning the Earth might be out of the line of fire, but not for long.
Marissa Parra is joining us now. I mean, who knew, right? Could this thing get bigger? Like, could this explode more in the days to come?
Well, Hallie, let me explain it this way. So this, what we saw just now with AR4087, this was an extremely, and by the way, a rarely powerful storm. You can see the categories. This was the most strong type of solar flare. But here's the thing. This was not even Earth directed. So, Hallie, this rotation is going to continue so that AR4087 is Earth directed with the next coming days. So even if it's not as strong in the X category, Hallie, it could still have a major impact for us down here on Earth. That's tracking with the next few days, May 16th and 17th. So we'll be here.
Bottom line, right? Watch for the potential for more of those comms blackouts. Marissa Parra, thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. That does it for this hour. Thank you, as always, for watching. We've got more coverage picking up right now.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.